What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since '03 and starting to get cautiously optimistic about this Pistons team. Before we get into it, just a heads up, I am at my parents' house for Thanksgiving, so apologies in advance if the video quality and audio quality isn't up to par. I will be back at the end of this week, but I did have to get on and make a video about this game because, man, it was a good one. The Detroit Pistons just beat the Toronto Raptors by a score of 102 to 100, in which Jaden Ivey made a game-winning buzzer beater at the very end of the game for the Pistons to win by 2. So, want to go through and highlight a few of the key performances from tonight, and then just talk about some general team notes and overall things from the game, as it was a pretty interesting one. So, of course, the first player we have to highlight is Jaden Ivey. Last play of the game was tied at 100. The ball was in the Pistons' hands with 22 seconds left. Jaden Ivey was able to dribble out the entirety of the clock, make a move, get about 15 feet away for a little floater that found the bottom of the net. His time expired, left 0 seconds on the clock for the Raptors, and it was just great. It has been a very long time since the Pistons had a true walk-off buzzer beater. Was the last one Saddiq Bey against the Warriors a couple of years back now? I really don't remember, but I know that these moments have been few and far between for us Pistons fans recently, so was very, very happy with that shot in particular. But outside of that, Ivey did play a really good game. He finished the night with 25 points on an incredibly efficient 10 of 13 shooting, 2 of 4 from downtown. He was 3 of 6 from the free throw line. A couple of those misses coming in crunch time, but don't want to nitpick that. He also had 5 rebounds and 8 assists to 3 turnovers, which all in all felt like a good game for Jaden Ivey. He didn't start off the game super hot, but once it got rolling, he was able to contribute in a big way. Was our only player over 15 points, and he had 25. So all the shout-outs and praise for Jaden Ivey, as I think that he played a really good game tonight and stepped up in a big way in the absence of Cade Cunningham. So the second player that I do want to highlight is Jaylen Duren. He finished the night with 13 points and 12 rebounds, which is pretty good for Jalen Duren. But where I was most impressed with Jalen Duren was the defensive side of the ball. He had 4 blocks, which doesn't even really do justice for how good he played defensively, because I thought tonight was his best game defensively that he has played all year, and probably one of the better games defensively in his entire career. I think that he did a really good job of containing the Raptors' bigs for the most part, outside of all of the offensive rebounds they got, which was a little bit crazy, and we will get into that later. But it was a good game for Jalen Duren. He only had 1 foul as well, which is something else that he has struggled with so far this year. He's been averaging 3.5 fouls per game, despite only playing 24 minutes. So for him to be able to stay out of foul trouble and block a few shots, that is positive steps in the right direction any way you slice it. And the third player I want to highlight is Assar Thompson, as he was able to return to action tonight and play his first game in 266 days. It was super nice to see Assar back on the floor tonight. He played 16 minutes. He had 5 points to go along with 3 boards and 4 assists. Obviously, Assar Thompson isn't somebody who you're going to expect to step on the floor for the first time in almost a year and instantly just score a bunch of points. That's not really his game anyways, but everything else that I saw from him looked as good as I could have hoped in his first game back. He had a couple good plays on Scotty Barnes defensively. Scotty Barnes, after those couple of good plays, just got unbelievably hot. Made a couple shots that he probably normally wouldn't make while Assar was guarding him. But nevertheless, it was a good game for Assar Thompson. He did knock down a 3-pointer, which was super impressive to see. If you're just looking at the box score, you'll see that he has 1 of 3 from behind the 3-point line, but one of them was a total heave 50 feet away from the hoop at the end of the buzzer. So happy with Assar's return. I don't think there would have been a situation where I would have been disappointed because he hasn't played in almost a year, but just super happy to see him on the floor, and I thought that he did help in a few different ways. So to talk about the team as a whole, Obviously, I'm just happy right now that the Pistons got the win either way. That's really the only thing that I was concerned about, especially considering that the Pistons had lost 3 in a row before this one. Cade was out. You knew it was going to be a grindy type of game, but my biggest concern was how bad they got beat up on the glass, particularly on the offensive glass. The Raptors finished the game with 50 team rebounds. We had 38, which is a pretty bad gap as is. But the offensive glass is where it was really nasty. The Toronto Raptors had 23 offensive boards to our 6. And no matter which way you slice it or dice it, you can't give up 23 offensive boards. A lot of them were bad, unlucky, unfortunate bounces that were long rebounds that happened to go back into the Raptors' hands. But definitely not all 23 of them were. And we do need to do a better job of just boxing out and making sure that we can secure those rebounds, no matter which way you slice it. You can also mention that the Toronto Raptors are one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league. They are currently in top 5 for offensive rebounds, but as I've said a couple times now, 23 offensive rebounds is just unacceptable. But thankfully, the Pistons won, so not going to spend too much time drilling that one home. So outside of that, I don't really have too many other concerns from this game. It was pretty much how I expected this to go with Cade being out. At times, it can be a little hard getting into sets or just getting offensive flowing in general without Cade on the floor. And we did see more of that at points tonight. There was a few points in the game where the Raptors were really pressuring up high, playing us 35, 40 feet away from the hoop. And no matter who it was, whether it was Sasser or Ivey or whoever bringing the ball up, at times struggled to even get us into sets, did lead to some turnovers. We did finish the game tonight with a total of 14 team turnovers, which isn't the worst in the world and below our average, but it felt like the ones that we did have were pretty costly, and the offense at times was just kind of hard to get into as a team at certain points. So all in all, the fact that we were able to pull out a win in this game without Cade, pull out a win where it was Assar's first game back, I really can't complain. One other small thing to note about Assar's return, there was a brief moment in time where Assar and Ron Holland did share the floor together. I know myself and many other Pistons fans were pretty curious about if those two players were going to get fully staggered, as of course both of them are wings who have not particularly shot the ball well, to put it in the nicest way possible. So, was a bit interesting to see. There was a brief moment in time where Assar and Ron did play together. Will be interesting to see if there's more of that going forward. So let me know what you guys think. As I've said, I'm just happy that the Pistons are able to get a win. I'm excited because buzzer beaters are awesome. Some of my favorite moments in NBA history have came on buzzer beaters, and tonight was one that I will remember for a long time because that's typically how these types of walk-off buzzer beater games feel. So let me know what you guys think, and we'll catch up soon.